no. Here's the biggest problem with creators. We can't sell our own work. That's our problem. We created it with our own hands and our own minds and our own vision. It's worthless to us. The joy of creating it is always there, but it's worthless to us in terms of monetizing it. Money is not a metric for good and bad. Good and bad is not the metric. Worthy and worthless is the metric. If you think you're not worthy, you can't sell or receive money, or you'll get the money and it will just fall away from you. It will just run straight through your fingers.
If you had like courses or offerings or anything like that, I would imagine, I don't know, I feel like 80% have come in the last, like COVID on.
Yeah, okay. So I think
If you have,
back when Creative Live exploded, because it really exploded and it got so much funding straight away, that was 2012. So that was post that recession.
yeah,
But you know what? Something happened after that recession, the birth. I remember reading this thing that said it's going to happen again in 12 years. In 10 years, sorry.
Yeah.
So, sorry, 12 years from 2008.
yeah,
There was this famous psychic, and she predicted that the world would go into a recession in 2008, and 10 to 12 years later, it would happen again, but there was COVID, and it would be a world event. And I remember reading that. And when we went through the big transition of 2008, 2009, it really changed my career, but also the fact that we watched the birth of online businesses explode after that recession.
yeah.
So the same thing happened again after COVID. People lost their jobs and reinvented themselves. Humans are so resilient. And I love how resilient we are, right? That we just like find a way through every single time now. And the more hardship, the more we break through big time.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've seen the wave, the second wave, but I also feel like it's changed a lot from the first wave because we were dominating this online space with long form content and now it's so saturated. But you hear people say the market's saturated. I don't believe the market's financially saturated. I believe it's just saturated with noise. And so you've got to get to the value, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's the part now that's changed is the distribution has changed significantly because there's so many other people making classes. So which ones do I buy? And percentage-wise, like we have a lot of research on how people consume content. And they were consuming long-form content and now they're not. So if they're saying you buy a masterclass for $1,000, but only 17% of people will finish the videos, then people are like, I've spent the money and not watched them, so they stop buying. So that's the shift that I see right now.
Yeah. Well, you talk about resiliency. It's like, I love the path that resilience could take when someone's on the scent or like on a path. You know, you went from New Zealand to Australia, started coming over to the States, and it was multiple states, and then you settle in here. Like, it can get really fun when someone's intentional about where they're heading.
So my intention when I left New Zealand, and I said this to my best friend and my business partner, they were like, you're leaving this, what you've built? And I was like, yes, I want an international career. And that suddenly was it. I was 38 at the time, 39. I wasn't having kids. I couldn't have kids. And then that was the pivotal moment. Like you still wait to have kids, even though that was not going to happen for me. So I was like, well, if I'm not having children, I would rather have an international career. And so it was very intentional to leave my small country, go to Australia, and then bounce here was the next step.
Yeah. Can you speak to why you would feel leaving a small country would benefit national exposure? Like just from, let's just call it the United States. Like, did you see specifically that there could be a larger opportunity here?
I never saw United States. I saw Australia. The States came up when I got published in a magazine here and it blew up and they were like, we want you to speak. We want you to come over. And then a lot of Australian photographers do the pilgrimage to the big conference in Vegas. So I was like, you know, it was a party week and a great experience. That's kind of why I came. But yeah, it just kept blowing up. I was looking for it and I was very intentional about putting that out there to go and look for a more international career. Here's the thing, New Zealand has 5 million people. So if you're a photographer, you don't go to other people's studios and network with them. They are direct competition in a small market. We didn't have like mentors that were freely mentoring you. We had a national body of photographers, like the Institute of Professional Photographers, but there wasn't a lot of sharing going on 20 years ago. Back then, it was like the top photographers held those positions and everyone else was just trying to get there. So there was no sharing, there was no workshops, there was no like networking with other photographers. And that, when I came to Australia, was a lot more prevalent. And when I got to America by then, it was less like networks and connections and platforms. And so watching that growth was exhilarating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we reverse engineer Sue Bryce's path? Like from I have a camera, I enjoy it, I'm being told and I believe I'm talented. People are going to pay me for my services. Like, can you start on
That took 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years of mastery from 18 to 28. I was like, I could do this for a job. It's a cool job in your 20s. I could do this for a career. Oh, I could have a career. Oh, I could do this for a business. And so I was learning all that, but still growing up. By the time I hit 30, I was earning $400 a week. And all my girlfriends bought houses. And we went out one night and bought champagne. And we're all celebrating my 3 best friends owning a home. And I was on $400 a week going like, I have the coolest job out of all of you. And I'm the only one that's not making any money. Yeah. So that was a moment at 30 where I was like, if I don't start a business, I will not be able to have a home or a career, or like I will not be sustainable. So I started a business, and my goal within the first year, my goal was to get clients. Once I learned how to get clients, I then had to break through selling. Once I broke through selling, that took 1 year. I just started to set a goal for $1 million in gross revenue, and I got staff and I grew, and my trajectory over that 7 years. We got close. We're at 920,000 for a small creative business, but my take home was 50 grand. And now I'm working 15 hours a day. I have 7 staff and a business partner. I'm taking home 50K. And yes, my studio is growing. I'm now in a city studio. I'm now almost at $1 million in turnover. And everybody is walking into my space going, look at what you did. Look at what you've created. Wow. And I'm getting props and I'm getting, sort of congratulated and celebrated. And I'm struggling and I'm burning out and I'm about to die. And so I knew that. And then to top it off, right at our biggest year when we're just sailing towards that $1 million revenue, sailing 15 hours a day working, then 2008 crisis hit, and the impact of that was quite intense. We had 80 grand in the bank, so we had a safety net for a small business. That's really unheard of, but we were really careful with our money. And back then I heard Warren Buffett say, you know who's swimming naked when the tide goes out. The tide went out and we survived, and we are a luxury brand. Like, I photograph people, average sale $1,850 back then. People did not need to buy photographs in a recession, but they did. And we survived that because we had that money in the bank. And I heard that quote in 1997 and did not realize it was Warren Buffett until 20 years later when I quoted it on stage and somebody said Warren Buffett said that. And I was like, I didn't even know that was Warren Buffett back then, but it was such a good quote. We have these businesses that look good, but if they don't have money, they're fake businesses and they don't last and they're not real. So as quickly as you can, it's not about earning the income and growing. It's about saving as well and getting that emergency fund. So then I got to that point and I was like, cool, we're making almost $1 million. The economy just fell out. The world changed overnight, as it does. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I told my business partner I was leaving. She maintained the business and sold it 5 years later. And I bounced straight to Australia and started to study franchising around the world. I decided I wanted to have a studio in every country in the world, every city in the world. And I went to a franchise lawyer and I started doing the work. As soon as I got to Australia, I saw online education explode. It was 2010, and I was seeing people on stage teaching around the world, online teaching, making videos. Back then, DVDs, would you believe? Going to live events to speak as a keynote speaker and selling their DVDs and to every person in the room. And I just looked at it and I was like, this is where I was being called. It was really gut instinct. And I started to curate online content in 2010.
Yeah. You said something that I want to dissect a little bit. You said that you were looking at your 3 friends that had bought a home. It occurred for you that your job was better than whatever that they had going on. It was cool, I think is what you said. But it was time for you to have a business.
Yep.
I think that a lot of creatives get labeled that this is for fun. That's a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a job, let alone a career, let alone a business.
Get a real job.
Yeah, get a real job. Like tell me the shift. You just used the term business. But here you are. I imagined you're taking photos for whoever will pay you at that point. And it's like, no, I need to become a business and I don't want to leave my passion and my talents behind. Like I need to monetize.
So here's
the light bulb that you have a mentor that said,
no. Here's the biggest problem with creators. We can't sell our own work. That's our problem. We created it with our own hands and our own minds and our own vision. It's worthless to us. The joy of creating it is always there, but it's worthless to us in terms of monetizing it. We have no ability for equal exchange of value because it came from our minds and our hands, and we just can't. We're just useless at it. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. The most talented people in the world can't sell their own work. So my boss was selling my work for $7,000 per shoot. I go out on my own, can't make $400. Same work. Why?
you're saying you can't sell it.
No, couldn't.
Tell me what you mean. There's an emotional attachment to it.
Blocked. Couldn't say it. I would take a photograph and say, I would go to say this was $350 and I'd say this is $350 and they'd go $3.50. They'd run all over me, bully me. I couldn't speak. My price out was shaking. I couldn't say what I was worth without crying. It was directly tied to my self-value, and I was unable to value myself. This is the moment that changed my life. I went to my mum. I just did a $3,000 sale for the first time since I started my business, and it had only been like a month. And I just did a $3,000 sale. And the only reason I did a $3,000 sale was it was a very wealthy woman that loved the photographs so much. She basically said, I want to take them all. How much? I'll take all of them. And I just said 3,000. And she was like, done. It should have been 8,000, but I said 3,000, right? And I just went 3,000 and I choked. And when she left, I cried. Then I realized I just asked for 3,000 and she paid it and told me I was cheap. So she did that, paid me. And I remember just sitting there and I thought, oh, and I was sick and I felt guilt and shame. So I called my mum and I go, Mum, I did it. I just made $3,000, like my first big job. And I did it, Mum, I did it. And she goes, the reason that me and Dad don't have a business. I actually was mean and I said, Mum, you never taught me this. You never taught me I could do this. I grew up with blue-collar parents that gave me a work ethic. I can outwork anybody. And I love that about me. But they never taught me I could ask for more because they never had a business. And I said to Mum, you never taught me this. You told me I could be anything. You told me the world is my oyster, but you never taught me how to do this, to ask for money. And my mum goes, that's the reason we don't have a business. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, well, we had a business. I said, when? When did you own a business? Like, I'm literally 30 years old. I've never heard this. And she goes, when you kids were born, we owned a business for 2 years and it failed. And I was like, wait, we would have been like, what, 1, 2, and 3? And Mum was like, yeah. And I said, so you were 23 years old and Dad was 24. And she goes, yeah. And Dad couldn't ask for money. And it still feels like someone's just punched me in the throat. So I say to Mum, excuse me? She goes, well, Dad would do all the work, but then he couldn't go and say, hey, this month you owe me. So he'd never ask for money and they wouldn't pay. And then we couldn't do the business. And if there's something you can hear from your DNA, from your parent, from your ancestry, and it's in my cells to not ask for money, the same way my father taught me to be humble and work for the man and get paid and go home and enjoy your life. That's what my dad told me. He was like, do the hard work. So just work for them and they treat you really good. And I just suddenly realized my parents were unlived in that way because they never saw their value and never asked for it. And I would not take another step in this life without asking for what I was worth. So I started to get really brave and just asking for more. And I just asked for more money. I asked for more opportunities, asked for more connections, asked for more advancement, asked for introductions, because I was giving and people were asking me for my creativity, my work, my time, my mentoring, and I was giving. So I started to ask for equal exchange of value, equal exchange of value, equal exchange of value. If I could have tattooed that on my forehead. And then I met this incredible mentor and he sat down and he just said to me one thing. He said, I want you to go into every meeting. I want you to go into every connection. I want you to go into every brainstorm. And I want you to go into every negotiation. And in your mind, I want you to say one thing, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? Because you can give to this world, but until you ask for something in return of equal exchange of value, you won't get it. And that was it. It woke me up. From that moment on, I started asking for money. And guess what? Whatever I asked for showed up.
The mind shift of being able to see that your talent, the time, what goes into it. I've had this experience with creatives. I've had, let's just call it a family photographer, come and take my family, corral my kids, give me this still shot in time of this period that I'm so grateful for, and then try to tell me I don't owe them anything.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what you just did for me? This is a phase of life I don't ever want to forget. You captured it in the place that I'll treasure forever, and then it gets awkward.
Yeah, it does. I tell you a story.
I love what you did, and
I tell you this mind-blowing story. I called this woman one day to make me 100 canvases for a show. And in my mind, I budgeted that they would probably wholesale around $35. So for 100 of them, I knew exactly what she was going to charge me. I hoped it was around $3.5K. I called her and I said, how much can you do these canvases for? And she, sure enough, came in at like $34. It was literally right under what I thought and hoped she would quote me. Then all of a sudden, I realized if it's going to be this price, maybe I should do 150. So I went silent on the phone and I did the math with a pen in front of me. And as I was silent, the next person who talks is buying it, right? And she just pitched something to me. She mistook my silence for an objection. And she instantly countered it with, I can do it for half price. I can do it at $17 a canvas. So, of course, I then say, well, I'll take 150 then. So now I not only have a half price product, I have 50 more than I anticipated, and I have a really good deal. I don't say anything because in this moment, my gut was turning. Like I wanted to throw up and save this woman. But I didn't because I thought this is the biggest lesson that I can teach you. Number one, it was the first time it had happened in reverse because I've been this person for so long that I realized what was happening. I accepted the quote and I paid it. I turned up to pick it up with a gift. I had a bottle of wine and I bought her a beautiful gift basket. And I walked in and I said, hi. And we sat down. I got the products and I sat down and I said, can I tell you a story? And she said, yeah. I said, I had $3,500 to spend. You mistook my silence for an objection and you halved the quote. And just watching her sit there and learn this lesson, and I tried to do it as kindly as possible with the gift and everything because I essentially felt like I ripped her off, but I didn't. She ripped herself off, and I needed her to learn it. I was like, that changed my life, and it changed hers too, because she stayed connected to me, and she was like, thank you. I'll never do it again. So here I am trying to make $1 million. I can't even sell my own work. I don't believe I'm worth it to ask for it.
When looking at some of your content, I saw a quote from you that said that you have a passion for monetizing creatives.
Oh, yeah. I want to free as many creatives. And imagine if I could teach all the creatives that are doing what that woman did and to have an abundant income so that they can literally be sustainable creators for the rest of their life. Is there a greater gift on this earth than to wake up and be paid to create what you want to create in a space that you want to create in? I don't think there is a greater gift. I would do that for sustainable income for the rest of my life because I'm pretty much could never work in corporate.
Well, Sue, that sounds nice. It sounds nice. But the world says creatives those are hobbies.
That's not true.
So let's give someone some game.
Yeah.
Let's help somebody right now that's a creative.
Yeah.
How do they start?
I reverse engineer everything. I've got a little PDF for you and you can send it out to your listeners. What it is, it's just a calculator. I actually call it my product calculator because I truly see it as if you want to sell anything, you have to have a product.
Yeah.
It's either a physical product, a digital product, a physical service, or a digital service. It's one of those 4 things. What are you selling is the first thing I need to know. I mean, the magic is how connected are you to this product and how much do you value it? Because if you're connected to it and you value it, you can really sell it. But this is how I reverse engineer making anything. I worked out if I wanted to make $1 million in total gross revenue, so this is not net, then I needed to create a product that was, if I have a $10 product, I have to sell it to 100,000 people. I stop chasing the money and start chasing 100,000 people.
Okay.
Because if you chase money, you're just always chasing money.
Yeah.
But if you look for 100,000 people that want a $10 product, you're going to get to $1 million. As you go along, obviously,
I want to pause somebody right there.
Yeah.
They're sitting there. They've have their packet and their pricing packages, but they're just getting referrals, and or the occasional Instagram post of, "Hey, I'm taking clients." They look at the 100,000 number. And that's just not going to cut it.
But you're talking about a $10 product.
Yeah.
So if you're selling a $10 product for 100,000 people, you'd have to put that $10 product in front of 1 million people.
Well, I just like I like the mind shift change. What I'm doing right now, that would not work.
No.
I don't have 1 million followers.
Nope.
And even if I did, are all 1 million of them buying this product from me? If
Well,
you just
10%
start, okay, well,
Now
I need to
looking
get
for
10
people.
million followers and to get 10% of them. And
Yeah.
I just love how like the wheels can start turning. Okay.
Well, you just got to stop focusing on the money part and start focusing on the value part. And I think that was the bit for me. It was if I focused on the value of that product. For instance, I created a product that was $3,000 as a photographer. And
Tell me what it is. I want to be there with you.
Photo shoot.
Okay.
A photo shoot for $3,000. Okay. And so in order to do $3,000, I have to book how many people?
And this is to generate, the number that you chose was 1 million. That's fitting for today's show, right? We're on a podcast, 1 million ways to make $1 million. You chose the $1 million in revenue number.
Yeah. Why? $1 million is a big, scary number. And $1 million changes your world. I do this thing when I coach people. I give them a check for $1 million. And I've designed a check, it looks like a legitimate check. I slide it over and they have to put their name on it, endorse it for themselves, and accept the money. And do you know how many people can't touch it? Do you know how many women touch it and then think, I'm going to get this to my husband because I don't know what to do with it? Do you know how many people take it and can't write their name on it? Like what it represents? It's so bizarre to me. Why $1 million? Because if you have debt, that $1 million will alleviate your money pain. It takes care of most people's immediate debt, and it certainly takes care of most people's lifestyles. When you ask people, what would you do with this $1 million? You'll be blown away. They say things like, I would pay for my mum's mortgage and my sister's student loan. And then I would, buy a house, and I'd like, so you'd give it all away. And how much are you going to have when you finish with just this $1 million and what it represents to people? But here's the thing that I use it for. As I slide it over, I say there's a caveat. You can only use this for your next business adventure or for your business now. Now, if I gave you $1 million, I'm assuming you know exactly where you're going to put it. You go, I've got a
30
perfect
seconds.
investment for that. So your money has direction.
Yeah.
When you have direction with your money, it's already coming to you because you already have channeled where it's going. Most people can't even fathom getting this $1 million. And when they do, it's gone. It's spent. They spend it. And you will do with $1 million right now what you're doing with money right now. And until you learn that $1 million is really just, it's a metaphor for freedom, then you also understand something. If I said to you, what are you going to do with this $1 million? And imagine that you said to me, I would create a business like this, that does this, that does this. And I go, wow, that's nothing like the business you have right now. You're on the wrong track. Because if your soul is being called to create something else and that $1 million could create it, that's the moment, I think. So I love that $1 million number. I also, as a small business, thought I want to earn $1 million in gross revenue. I did that and realized there wasn't any margin for me. So then I had to become a personal brand. So I was getting all of the money. And then I had to grow my products from that personal brand. And that was when I started to make a lot more money for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take me down the next step, the reverse engineering of your business calculator.
Yeah. Once I saw online content, I created a product which was a physical product, so cards for $300, a big deck of cards that they could learn from. They're very visual, very beautiful, but I put them online, and that was my first online product in 2012. I sold $400,000 of just this product, and I had to sell it, wake up in the morning. They were in my spare room. I had to walk down to UPS, put them in a bag, and ship. My parents came over for a weekend. I paid for them to meet me in Australia, and we're staying in this beautiful beachfront property. I wake up in the morning, I walk out, and I look at my email, and I go, oh, I made $3,000 last night. My dad just looks at me, and he goes, what? And I said, oh, I made $3,000 last night. And Dad goes, how? And I said, well, I sell a product online, Dad, and while I was sleeping, 10 people bought my product, and now we have to go and ship them. And
just think as a father, my daughter walking in and saying I made $3,000 last night, and where my mind, like, what do you mean? Where did you go? I thought you were sleeping here. What are we doing here?
And then my dad was like, the next morning I was sitting by my laptop with coffee, and he was tapping my laptop like, come on, let's go, let's have a look. And I opened my laptop, have a look, and it was $300. And I look at my dad and I go, it was only $300 last night. He leans over and he goes, that's $300 more than someone paid me to sleep. And that was it. That was 2012. I was like, make money while you sleep. I need to make money while I sleep. And that's what digital products do. They go online, and if they're connected, infused, filled with value, and they're at the right price point, and you're building a community around it, it's inevitable that this starts to sell and grow. And that was the moment that I started creating digital products. Within 2 years, my income had gone from $200,000 when I first got to Australia, $400,000 in the first year, and then I bounced instantly up to $600,000. And that's the moment I was like, I have put out all the digital products that I could possibly put out right now, and I built a platform. And building a platform was a subscription-based platform. I focused on Netflix model. I found a dude that I'd worked with the VC funding for Creative Live that was in the Netflix startup team. I gave him a call. I said, would you mentor me? And he said, sure. He did it for free. We did 3 phone calls. I ran him through the whole system of my online subscription. And I said, I want it to be a Netflix model, low price point, $25 a month, leave whenever you want. And I started to curate the content for that platform and build the website. And in 2015, I launched, and that was my very first year of $1 million personal income. And I did 1.4 that year for the first time ever in my life. And 2015, so I was 44.
Come on.
Yeah.
I'm hearing you. I get excited because I'm seeing this business mind work in this creation. And I imagine you had help and guidance and staff and the late nights and the long days and all the things in between. What are you saying to the creative that just puts a pit in their stomach? Like, I just want to do what I love. I don't want to build the business portion.
You don't have to, but you have to find someone that can. And my first business, I gave away 50% equity to a business partner that was good with money and structure because I was not. And she taught me how to be good at business and structure. And it was very strategic. But I gave away 50% of my business. Now, when you bake a pie, if your pie is worth $5 at market and somebody comes along and says, we could make 10,000 pies, let me be your business partner, and you give them 50% equity, you give them $2.50 in that moment. But when you're worth 50 million and you're writing a check to a partner for 25 and they haven't done anything, they didn't create it, they didn't build it. So I have gratitude for what I learned from her, but I should never have given away 50% equity. In saying that, when I built my platform and had my first big year, I did exactly what I knew I would do. I got to the end of it and said, I want more. Dude, have you heard the saying, there's a man with $11 million and there's a man with 11 children. Who's the happiest?
I haven't.
It's the man with 11 children because he doesn't want more. And I keep wanting more. And I think I needed to prove, maybe it was ego, maybe I was caught up in the magic of selling. For me, when you put out a product that's connecting and you're watching, like we would launch something and just hit refresh for the next 24 hours because it's like you're printing money, right? You're just printing money. It's exhilarating. Our whole team is fired up. We're dancing around. We're just watching the numbers come in. We're sitting there at night texting each other the new numbers that are coming in. It's not the money that's giving me the exhilarating feeling. It's the understanding that my content has connected and it has value and that they can see it and feel it and they're handing over money in equal exchange for it. And that's the magic. That's the alignment. That's like whoa, I am doing this. This is a good product and everyone can feel it and see it. And yeah, the money's going up, 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 but it's not the money. It's the connection. It's the vibe. It's the alignment. It's the this is on, we're hot, we're running. That in business is what I lived for.
Yeah. If there's someone, what I'm hearing in that, if there is a creative out there that it looks daunting to go create the business. Right now I'm getting paid for my services because I'm talented and this is what I enjoy doing. But to take it to the next level, I've got to take on this entrepreneurial spirit of some sort, and that seems daunting to them. What I just heard you say is, if you think it's great,
it's exhilarating.
At the base level, wait till
well, hang on, creators start businesses all the time. We're really good at creating websites and brands. We're really good at doing all that beautiful stuff. We're really good at even going to networking and showing people how clever we are. What we can't do is sell. It's just selling. It's not business. Business is common sense and equal exchange of value. That's it. It's literally common sense, and when you learn that if you do a $3,000 photo shoot, you're only getting $1,000 of that. Once you learn your margin, and that businesses run on margin, not run on gross revenue. It's run on net profit and a 6 times EBITDA to sell. Once you learn that, you're working from a percentage base and it changes the way you think and sell. But all I'm trying to do is get creatives to sell their work. And if they can't sell it, just get someone else to. But you will be paying a commission or a percentage, or you will be giving away 50%. that first year of that, I knew I wanted more. I took 3 business partners. My husband was one of them, and 2 men that are big growth. Craig Swanson from Creative Live, he was the original founder, and Aaron Anderson was the best producer and COO I've ever worked with. I gave them 50% equity of that platform, but they are a growth team. They weren't like my first partner who was just there to support me, and she got 50%. These guys 6x my business. I went from 1.4 to $6 million annually, and we maintained that for 7 years. So it was worth the equity giveaway to get to the next level, because then we had an 8-figure exit in 21.
And what was your involvement at that time? Like, where was your creative genius coming to
Weekly
life?
broadcasts.
Okay.
And I run all the content, and I put over 1,140 videos in the content library in 7 years.
Okay. So now you're not just taking still shots, and it wasn't selling canvases. It was, you were now producing content and getting in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is my wheelhouse, actually.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's in this transition? I can almost feel like I was there with you at the dinner with your friends and the houses. What is a belief system that you had to let go of to be able to
Creatives
sell the
can't
way
make
they
money,
did?
and I will never be able to sell myself.
Creatives can't make money.
And I'll never be able to sell myself. I can't ask for money. That was my belief. Those 2 things. Creatives can't make money, and I'll never be able to sell myself.
And when you got rid of those,
Here I am.
open roads.
Yeah. I also broke a generational poverty cycle. And that was big for me. That was a big thing for me. And I've since gone back. My nieces and nephews, I've set up a system with all my nieces and nephews where I've created and invested some money for them when they turn 20. But it comes with a lesson. And I've already given it to 3, the first 3 that have turned 20.
Yeah.
And I sat them down and I said, this comes with the money class, so let's go. And they're already free. My nieces and nephews are already there. They already got it. They'll never be poor.
Yeah. One of my favorite live speeches was from Ed Milet. And he's on stage and he says, in every, like, wherever you see like a wealth, at some point in that family line, there was the one. Like, there was the one that broke the curse. There was the one that figured out, because your parents were entrepreneurs. They just couldn't figure out how to, ask for the money. But they were willing to start the business, and they had the skill set, and they had people willing to take on their services.
So are the best entrepreneurs salespeople, naturally?
Oh, I mean, I think it's...
Because my dad was a natural salesman. In fact, ended up getting out of blue collar into a white collar position at the steel mill he worked at for 17 years and ran a sales team, which was so random. And yet, brilliant salesmen couldn't ask for money. So the guy that gave us the 78,000 VC funding to Creative Live, we had a lot of appointments because I was the highest selling instructor. And he said to me, whatever you are, whatever the magic you come with, I want to cut a lock of your hair off, grind it into powder and give it and sell it. And he was like, it's the magic. And I had a conversation with him. This is a very wealthy man. He grew up in a very wealthy family. And I remember I said to him one day, well, that's the problem with creatives and poor people. And of course, he's never been poor or never experienced that. And he said, what? And I said, they can't ask for money. It was like he heard something. He just stopped and he looked at me and he was like, can you say that again? And I said, well, when you grow up with money, you learn how to ask for it or expect it, or you kind of think you're entitled to it.
You attract it. I don't know how to describe that. I'm struggling to find words to help you bridge that gap.
Yeah.
But
And I was like,
I
well,
know what you're saying.
Yeah. Do you know what it's like when you're poor and you feel like you're dirty? Because people look at you like you're dirty and worthless. And we weren't poor. We were broke. Like, there's a difference. Like, growing up with a stigma, what are the two energies that block money? Guilt and shame. Well, shame is I'm not good enough. And if you grow up poor, you grow up with this nice, healthy dose of shame. But then wealthy families too manipulate and use money in the most horrific way. So wealthy people also have big money issues, but they still ask for it. They still know the power of it. And yeah, to be able to ask for what I'm worth and receive it is probably the most amount of pulling my soul apart that I've ever had to do. But now I kind of see it like, well, you're only going to say no and probably negotiate it down. Nobody says no. It's so weird.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're any good at it, when they do say no, it's just kind of not yet.
Yeah.
And you just keep working and you show them, and you show them what value you bring, and it tends to work out.
Yeah.
I want to, I would love, I told you prior to this, my daughter occurs for me as a creative. And I love the business side of things, but I would love for her
okay, you're wrong. Business is creative. Business is one of the most creative. I see systems like Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody creates something, the first thing I have to see is the system around it, like the sales system, the ecosystem, the connection to the system. The first thing I do is I'll go into my creative brain and just work a system. I'm a prolific problem solver. That's creativity. My creative brain will solve any problem. If you give me a problem, I'm a dog with a frisbee. My ability to go into the multiverse to visualize the path forward is entirely creative. The only thing that is not creative about business is asking for frickin' money. Again, we're back to selling. Stop telling creatives they can't create businesses. We're brilliant at it. I have a better visual spacing than most people. I can see a brand, and better, I'm creative. I can feel it. It's tangible. It's palpable. I can feel when somebody's connected or not because I am a creator. I can sense when someone's creating from their soul and when someone's trying to sell from their back wallet because they just need rent this week. I can see it. I can feel it. That's creative. Creativity makes me an extraordinary business owner, an incredible coach. And not only that, if you came to me with a problem, I will not only solve it, I will come up with 5 creative paths forward that you could take that will blow your mind. That is creativity. Stop telling creatives that we can't have businesses. Businesses are not designed for boffins, and that's accounting. If you want boring people, go to a CPA's office and go and hang out there for a day and see if you want to be a CPA. That's the antithesis to creativity. And so creativity, and get this, creativity is the opposite energy to competition. And most people in business want to compete. Well, I wanted to create. I don't compete with anybody. I create. And I'm not here to compete for what's already created. I'm not here to fight for what's already created. I'm here to create it. That's straight Wallace Wattles, 1938, The Science of Getting Rich. It's such a great book, and it's a free book because it's free domain. And I was like, so yeah, creation energy, the ability to wake up and connect to your business with that feeling of I want to create, I want to build, I want to sell, I want to get this out there, I want to connect. That is pure creativity.
Yeah. I have a stereotype that's in my head right now, and I want you to address it. The stereotype is that creatives in the workplace tend to have this stereotype around follow through and finishing. Like they can dream it up, they can create it. When they do, it's beautiful. But oftentimes it's most likely not going to be.
Oh, when I grew up, my parents said, you don't finish anything. You don't finish anything. Then I grew up, got successful, did my wealth dynamics profile. It's a quiz you do online. It's $100, but it is so worth it.
Say it again.
The wealth dynamics profile.
Okay.
And you just do this quiz. It's 100 questions, and it's your path to wealth.
Yeah.
Turns out I'm a creator. I'm not meant to finish anything. I'm meant to create it and sell it. That's why whenever I build a business and I stay in the business for a period of time, I want to die. So I have to leave so I can create a new business.
Yeah.
That's what I learned. So I learned that after the first one. And then second business, I sold it. So now I'll create businesses to sell or coach to sell. I am a creator and I am not supposed to finish anything.
Yeah. So speak to somebody that would find some of the experiences you've learned useful in the process of, I want to use an analogy that most people, in my mind, I was going to go like the red zone. Like in my mind, the red zone is in the last 20 yards of an American football field.
Yes.
And that's when your most likelihood to put points on the board is when you're there. And in my experience, creatives can get from the opposite end zone across the midway point and up to the red zone,
which
as
is where
quick
the
and
sales
beautiful
team is.
Anywhere is.
Because the sales team are going to close this down and get a touchdown.
Yeah.
And this, again, create, give it to people to sell. My husband can sell anything.
Yeah.
Anything. He says to me the other week, he's like, you need some new products. And I was like, I know, I'm working on it. And he was like, come on, let's sell. Let's sell. He wants products to sell. He is the red zone.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that
I'm the quarterback, right? I'm just throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do it in the most beautiful, perfect way possible. What happens is that sales team are going to take it. And if you can't do the selling, you need somebody else, another team to pick it up from there.
I can think of an example. Two of my best friends in the world, one's a creative and one's an operator. And man, when those forces collided, they created something magical. And what I'm hearing is that if you can find that counterpart.
Yeah. Would you be in business with another creator and neither of you can sell?
Yeah.
This is not viable here. Like what is going to work? And that is the one thing. Like my husband literally just loves selling. He's a deal maker. He just wants to make deals. He wants to make deals with everybody. And it's just so crazy. And then I realize, of course, that he's so motivated to sell and I'm so motivated to create. That's the red zone for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. And I'm just envisioning you being able to go back to go create something new.
Yeah.
And go create. And it's like, I got it. I created it. It's here in the world.
So on Sunday, Mother's Day, I don't have children. I didn't even realize it was Mother's Day. I woke up on Sunday and we were going to just have it. We had a chill weekend at home, just me and my husband. I wake up at 7, walk the dog. And while I'm walking the dog, I just have this existential question popped in my mind. What do you really love doing? And I was like, and straight away I said, I can't believe, I don't say I can't believe because I do believe it. I'm living it. What I love the most is I get to wake up in my home. I love my home and create content that I sell and make money. And I can just connect to my art, my content, and create something and make money. Like, what a gift. You ever worked at a job you hated? Would you know what it's like to wake up in a home you love being in, that you never want to leave, and go and create something? And it's been a while since I created anything. So I go back home, shower, and by 8 o'clock, I'm sitting in my studio, which is next to my bedroom. My husband wakes up and was like, what are you doing? And I said, I just felt compelled to finish this series. I filmed 22 videos on Sunday in my home studio. Short form, 6 to 7 minutes, really short form to go along with the 70-page book I've already designed. And I've sent this week to editing. My marketing team is one person. She's already writing she's doing it herself. She does the workshop first so that she can write the marketing content from a place of, I've learned this. And my web girl is already doing the page for it, and I'll launch that next week. And I just filmed it on Sunday with no crew, like with my full home set up. And now I have a product to sell, and this product will make me money. Yeah. And it's a good product. It's about public speaking. I've been teaching public speaking because people suck at it and they need to get better at it. And it's an in-person workshop, but I put it online as well. So you can get the cheaper version, start doing all your in-person, then come and see me and learn how to speak on the stage.
Yeah. Where does someone start to grow a skill set to have something that's worth purchasing?
Ooh, yeah. Because that's the thing, right? A lot of people want to start businesses, but they haven't created a product. You don't have to create anything. You can sell somebody else's. It can also be a digital service. It can also, so digital service, digital product, physical service, physical product. The problem with physical products and physical services, well, physical services is, and digital services is you're trading money for time. Digital products is the only product that's going to make money while you sleep. Yeah.
I'm seeing this ability to buy, I'll call it artist work online, and they're figuring out ways to get their work on someone else's platform. And you go to the site and I want to buy this print. And I just think it's amazing.
It is, because like an artist is a perfect example of, I'll paint something and give it to a gallery. The gallery will take 40%. Well, it's no different than a business partner at that point. Someone else is selling the work and you're getting 50%. The point is to work to your margin, not to the total sale. So this is what really changed my mind in a small creative business. This is the one big lesson I learned. Again, if it's $3,000 product, but it's only a $1,000 margin for me, it's not a $3,000 product. I have to constantly look at that and then times it by 3 in order to get the real number that I'm getting. I started working from my margin, not the gross revenue, because it doesn't take long for your gross revenue to get cut back with expenses, or something will go wrong and that might cost your business $7,000 and you've lost. That's all coming from you. That's all cutting into your profit margin. So I started to really make goals and reverse engineer from my margin. And then, because that's what I'm getting paid, that's when I really grew.
Yeah. You referenced your graph again. Will you take us through from start to finish?
Yeah. Let me just open this. Okay. A $10 product to 100,000 people. A $20 product to 50,000 people will make you $1 million in total revenue. A $100 product to 10,000, 200 to 5,000. When I created my first biggest selling digital class, it was in 2013. It sold over $5.5 million in revenue over the last 10 years, this one workshop. I knew that I've set a target to be the first $1 million workshop on that platform, and I knew it would sell for 200. So I created a product I knew 5,000 people needed.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, to a point where I sat down with this and I was like, in order to make $1 million, I would have to create a $200 product that 5,000 people needed. So I sat down and curated the content based on that vibe. What do 5,000 people in my industry really need? And I knew when I put that content out there that it was exactly what 5,000 people needed, and it hit $1 million on day 2. The CEO called me and he goes, "How did you do that?" So I went into the board. I stood in front of the board of directors and I said, in order to make $1 million, I would have had to have created a $200 product and sell it to 5,000 people. So I made sure that that product was worth $200 and that 5,000 people needed it. And they just looked at me like I was crazy. But it clicked over to $1 million at 20 minutes past midnight, which was the metric. And they were like, "You said you were going to make $1 million and you did." And I said, another lesson I learned in business. Have you heard of the law of no more and no less? Not a theory, not an idea, the law of no more and no less. You asked if I had a mentor. Back when I was a photographer earning $400 a week, this woman, very kind woman, paid $1,500 for me to do a coaching with this real estate coaching dude. What does he know about photography? Nothing. But I go along and he says, "So your boss is selling your work for $7,000, but you're getting $400. And I was like, "Oh," and he goes, "He's stealing from you." And I was like, "Oh, what?" And he goes, "But it's your fault. You're tied to a mooring and you're in a jet boat and you want to go." So I was like, "Okay." He goes, "What would it take you to leave this job?" I said, "I would need $2,000 cash." This 2001. I would need $2,000 cash because that would pay me for a month. And I figured if you just paid me for a month, this is how dumb I was. I could get a job that would pay me for next month. But just, he said, bare minimum, what would you need? And a new camera. So he goes, I'll give you a free coaching in 1 month if you go and do that. So in 1 month, I put myself out there, started teaching Photoshop to other photographers. One of those photographers paid me with a camera. And then I had $2,000. I did the work. I had $2,000. I walked back into this big coach, into his office. 4 weeks later, I plopped $2,000 cash on the table and a brand new camera, and I slide it on forward like this, like, And he looks at me and he goes, look at that. Exactly what you asked for. No more and no less. And I was so shocked in that moment. I just looked at him and he went, you didn't ask for 5,000 and 2 cameras, did you? And I was like, I look at him and I go, but you told me to get $2,000 and a camera. And he goes, and you did. That's the law of no more and no less. No more and no less than what you ask for, what you focus on. All manifestation is focus and emotion, what you focused on and how you feel about it. If you focus on what you want instead of what you don't want and don't have anymore, if you focus on what you want, turn your attention towards it, connect to it every single day and visualize it, and you have clarity around it, and then you get certainty and conviction, you commit to it, you wake up to it every day, that vision, it comes to fruition. How can it not? And that taught me something. I walked out of there no more and no less. No more and no less than what I asked for. And then again, what I asked for came up. So I started asking for more. And guess what? It showed up every single time. How did I sell $1 million to that workshop? When the CEO asked me, I asked for that. But then I backed it up with what I knew would be the value of what that price point was. That's why that calculator works. You're looking for the people, and then you're trying to create the value. You're not looking for the money. You start looking for money, you're just always going to be looking for money. You're looking for the people, and then you've got to give the people the value, and that's it.
And thinking of this commercial in my head, it's making me laugh. And I think that you were over here by the time it was released, but I think it was for Carl's Jr., the fast food company. And there's like a fair it looks like at a college, this is how I remember it at least, on a college campus, and there's these booths and they're all selling something. And there's just this kind of guy that, like, I would have you look at like the stereotypical stoner just sitting there, and he's got a burger and it's for sale for $1 million. And someone walks over to him and says, "Are you crazy?" And he says, "I only got to sell one." And you're speaking to equal exchange of value. He's probably going to struggle, to sell one of his products if it didn't have the value. But I love what can do. My mind's already there. Like, just
here's the weird thing about that burger. If it went viral online, look, this idiot selling a burger for $1 million. There is some idiot in this world with $1 million that will go and buy it because it went viral and because they can.
Yeah. Their form of giving back. This kid was crazy enough to think that he could sell it, and
like
I made a dream
sold
true.
$1 million photograph of a potato, and it's a potato, and it's not a great shot of a potato. I mean, potatoes could be better, but he sold it, and it got auctioned, and it was $1 million. And I was like, see, the whole point is, what idiot would spend $1 million on a potato? Somebody that thinks it's funny.
Well, is that the stereotypical view of a non-educated art viewer in a gallery looking at, like, well, I could paint that. They're selling this for how much? I can paint that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you didn't.
You didn't.
Yeah. I could just see that 5,000 people, 200. And it's like, well, if I'm going to get it posted on someone else's site that's already built the site, I probably need to sell it for 300 because they're going to take a cut.
Yeah.
And how do I get it to 5,000 people? Maybe I need it on 4 different providers. Or, you know what? I don't want to give up the cut. I want to build my own. And I'm going to spend the time to build my own platform to attract the 5,000 people. And then I'm going to sell, and I just see the creative juices. And back to your point, creative juices going from your chart, reverse engineering.
This is creativity. Selling is not. Selling is the part that will hurt everybody. The more creative you are, the more creative your brand will be. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. So get someone else to sell for you.
I'm in the world of investing. It's what we do.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the greatest investment you've made in this journey.
Ooh, in myself. Right. Just in my self-value. The greatest investment I made was learning how to ask for money and then learning how to receive it and being good enough to receive it. So
Not the web developer. It's not the camera.
Yeah.
It's not
No.
the right light and the microphones.
If you want a personal brand, work on your self-value. If you want to be forward-facing in your business, work on your self-worth. If you want to be wealthy, work on your self-worth. And if you want to be really good at selling, work on your self-worth, because it all comes down to you and what you believe you're worth and how much you believe you're worth.
You have any you could pass on? A book, podcast.
Yes, I mean, I'm at SueBryce.com. You can find my workshops. You can find me there. I teach workshops, and I just love to. I do talk a lot about money because
you do or you don't.
I do.
Okay.
Money is a value metric. As soon as you learn that, anybody that doesn't have value can't make money. Money is not a metric for good and bad. Bad people make a lot of money. We know this. So the metric is not, you're a good person, you make money. Good and bad is not the metric. Worthy and worthless is the metric. If you think you're not worthy, you can't sell or receive money, or you'll get the money and it will just fall away from you. It will just run straight through your fingers. Until you learn how to keep money, which would be give it direction. And in order to give something direction, you have to say, I want to buy this house for me. You have to believe you're worth that house. If you don't, you can't get it. It's that simple. I've seen that so often, especially in business as creators. But it's your ability to believe that you're worth it. Otherwise, you can't ask for it. Everyone goes, I'm going to manifest. Okay, this girl said to recently at an event, I'm getting a Ferrari. Now, I took that as meaning she's literally getting a Ferrari, right? And she was like, yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I can feel it. It's just the car I dream of. And I love cars. So I go up to her and I go, which Ferrari are you going to get? And she says, oh, I'm manifesting it, you know. And I was like, oh, which one are you manifesting then? I mean, I don't care. You're creating it. Sure, everyone's manifesting, creating. She goes, oh, I don't know yet. So she does not know, no clarity. She has not picked a Ferrari. I was like, girlfriend, you should be able to tell me the serial model of that Ferrari. Because when I bought my first Porsche, I had studied it for 10 years. It was on my vision board. My dad saw my car and said, you have wanted this since you were 18 years old. And I was like, yeah, Dad. She didn't know the make of the Ferrari. I said, did you know that you can lease a Ferrari for like $3,500 a month? And she just like looked at me. And I said, really, all you have to manifest is an extra $3,500 a month and you can literally have the Ferrari you want. And that had never... I was like, this woman is not getting a Ferrari.
You be careful, and a Tonka toy is going to show up if you're not specific, you know?
Yeah, or someone will send you a poster of a Ferrari. Right. That's it. Or one will hit your car, and you're like, oh, yeah, I got one. Yeah.
You came from, I'm just going to call it nothing. And I wouldn't have your parents hear that as anything else, but you mentioned we were broke at some point.
Yeah.
So you come from humble beginnings to creating a beautiful business in life.
Yes.
What's your current view on wealth beyond the numbers?
Balance, balance, balance. I don't want more. I want to be able to share more. I decided, do I want to launch a new business? Do I want to create something new? I still have a non-compete until April 1st next year, but I'm allowed to create any other businesses. And I've been coaching and I've been doing one-on-one mentoring, and all of those are lucrative. And I create workshops and they constantly make money. But do I want to go big again? Do I want to build another platform? Do I want to go back to that? Rah, rah, rah? No, I don't need the big money anymore. I'm good. I've got investments. I bought my home. I make money. Now it's balance, balance, balance. That's wealth. True wealth is to be able to wake up, peace of mind, comfortable, not stressing about money pain, and being free to travel, to my family and friends around the world. My husband's family is in Greece. My family is in New Zealand. We love to travel to be able to do the things we really want to do until the day we die, and then have a really good retirement and an exit. That's my dream. Wealth is, I bought my mum a house when my dad died. I was able to have the freedom to do things like this because of my business. I will never go back to working 15 hours a day. Smarter, not harder. More balance, more life. Because after 10 years, when my dad died, I'd been at this US business for 10 years. I go home once a year for 10 years. I traded the last 10 years of my dad's life for that. And the impact of that was so great because he died so suddenly at 73 that all of a sudden, and now the fact that I could buy my mum a house because I had done that 10 years, because I'd sacrificed that 10 years, what an incredible blessing for my mum, for my siblings. But I sacrificed something big to get that, and it sits on my heart. So would I ever sacrifice more now for more money? No, I have a beautiful life. I have enough. I'm happy now that I don't want more. I'm like that guy with 11 kids. I don't want more. I've got it all. In saying that, I just want to keep creating. So it has to be in balance and it has to be at full value.
Yeah, I hear a message of accessibility. I don't feel that you like landed on a lucky star or that you're some savant unicorn, like anomaly.
I don't
Like it's
think
accessible.
it's really doable. I'm so doable. I say it all the time. I'm not special. I'm not unique. I didn't finish high school. I carried that because I thought people would think I was stupid. I'm not, I did stupid things in order to make people, to try and be smarter. And the truth is it doesn't matter if you've got an education or not. Lived experience is incredible. But yeah, I just focused on it. And I just took every step fully connected to my gut instinct, to my intuition, what was right and what was wrong for me. And every step I took, I said, what's in it for me? And I asked for equal exchange. And, when people would say, come and speak at my conference in New York for free for exposure, I was like, screw exposure. Who can you introduce me to? Can you give me a merchandise table afterwards so I can sell product to all those people? I would go on my own coin, speak at their event, sell $8,000 worth of product, gain 100 new clients just by speaking at their event. And I asked to be introduced to the right vendors at those events by the owners. I just was ballsy enough to ask for more, and it's like, it just keeps paying off because I keep stepping towards it. So what happens is we create a social media and we think that's attracting people to solve all of our business problems, or we think that's selling, and it's not. It's not selling, and it's not creating your next step. It's simply exposure to an audience of people that follow you. So I started to really push into it. I would not accept sponsorship when I started speaking because I didn't want anyone else to pay for my flight, pay for my airfare, and then tell me to talk about their business on my content. I was like, no, I'll pay for it myself. Thank you. I went in there knowing I was building this myself, and I just keep coming up with the product and I keep asking for more. That's it. I'm not special. I'm just focused. Yeah. And I also knew that I had some deficits when it came to certain things. I was prepared to outwork anybody else on the stage. Didn't matter how good you were. Like if I got booked for an event, I watched every other speaker because I studied them. And I made a goal, if I watched 3 speakers, to get up there and do better. Take what they did good, learn what they did wrong. And then, so I was prepared to do the work to get up there, and I was prepared to ask for more, and I just kept asking for more. Even when my throat would close and I'd get cotton mouth, I still just would be brave enough to ask.
What is Sue Bryce excited about? Like what's in your head right now that you're looking forward to creating or bringing to life Sounds like you might even need to wait a few months
I teach.
before you can. But what's
I
next?
just recorded on Sunday. I recorded my speak workshop because public speaking is becoming more and more of a thing. We put public speaking in the top 5 fears. It's right up beside burning alive, being buried alive, like
Snakes, spiders, or whatever.
It's a fear of rejection. That's it. But when you actually learn to find your voice at a networking event, in your marketing reels, and then on stage in your industry, that 10x my business around the world. It's so significant. It's what so many people desire but are so afraid of doing. And I love doing it. So I pushed into that. What really excites me right now is I'm creating a 28-day challenge. I love doing 28-day challenges for business owners because anyone can commit to 28 days of waking up, watching a video, and doing a lesson on their business. I'm doing this one for solopreneurs. I believe that starting a business and becoming a solopreneur is a spiritual journey. And I believe that money is a value metric. So the first thing you're going to connect to is what I believe I'm worth. And I just love taking people through the challenges of getting out of your own way because you're the one stopping money from coming to you. You're the one stopping opportunities. And you spend all this time, right, in comparison of other people. They have this and I don't have this and I'm better than them, but they're making money. And we get locked in just a world of comparison instead of a world of giving and service. And I just love creating challenges. That's what I'm enjoying right now. And I'm doing some one-on-one mentoring for the first time in 10 years. I have not had time to one-on-one mentoring. And I've got some awesome businesses reaching out to me that are just really cool people. And I'm just really excited to watch them all go to the next level.
I've thoroughly enjoyed your energy in the conversation, what I've learned. I can't wait for my daughter to watch this episode 100 times. And friends that are seemingly stuck.
You're not stuck, man. You're bored and you're disconnected and you're unfulfilled. And when you're unfulfilled, it feels horrendous. You're not stuck. You're doing something that somebody else wants. You're building somebody else's dream. You're not asking for enough. You're giving yourself away and you're not in creation energy. Stuck is just the opposite to creation energy. You're not stuck. You're stuck in your own mind and it's a loop, and that loop can be broken, and it can only be broken by going to create. And if you really look at it and say you're stuck in competition, that's it. You're stuck in competition. They have this, therefore I can't create it. No, go and create what you want. Go and create what lights you up. And if you get out into creation, you get away from the competition. And that's what the loop is. The loop is just competition. You're not stuck. Yeah. You're unfulfilled. And I can tell when people are unfulfilled, because when people are unfulfilled, they look fulfilling. And filling comes in avoidance, right? Drinking, eating, shit we don't want to do, gambling, porn, you name it. We get stuck on avoidance behaviors because we're unfulfilled. So stop saying you're stuck and start saying you're empty. And then it's a totally different vibe. Stop saying I'm trapped in this job or I have to do this to make money to pay the mortgage, and start saying I'm unfulfilled and I'm soulless in my work. And then when you start saying that, you're like, oh man, I am unfulfilled. I'm an unfulfilled person. Yes, and you will fill it with filling until you find the thing that fulfills you.
I imagine just saying that to someone out loud. How have you been? I'm unfulfilled. What's someone going to say next?
I'm unlived.
Yeah, if someone said that to me, I think my natural response would be, well, what are we doing about it?
Yeah, how can we fill you up?
And then the mind starts turning. Yeah. I don't know yet. Well,
yeah, stop saying I don't have time and start saying I don't prioritize it. I don't have time to go to the gym. Bullshit. You don't prioritize it. Stop. Give yourself a break. Stop with the lies and stop with the BS. It is all in your brain. It is not true. So now I've started to look at people and think, you're not stuck. You're unfulfilled. And what is the greatest Carl Jung quote is, there is no greater impact on the life of a child than the unlived life of a parent. And when I heard that, the saying of your dad couldn't ask for money, that is an unlived life. My mother told me that when I was 30 years old, and I've known this for 24 years. I think about it on a weekly basis. They were incredible people. Were they unlived? No, they were happy. Could they have had more? Sure. But I didn't want that feeling that my dad was unrealized or that he never fully worked into his talents or his skill base because he just couldn't ask people to be paid for the work he'd done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
SueBryce.com, Sue Bryce Photographer on Instagram. And I'm pretty easy to
With a Y.
With a Y, Bryce with a Y.
Yeah. Sue Bryce Photography.
Yeah. Sue Bryce Photographer on Instagram.
Is that where you're the most active?
Yeah, Instagram is definitely my most active social for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for letting me be here. It was awesome.
I hope the world continues to follow you and you keep providing what you are. I think that I wouldn't have it be a niche, but man, if there's a group of people that I would love to give hope to, or the realization that it's possible, that it's accessible, it is this group of beautiful creators that have this stipulation around business and that it's not creative and that they're not meant for it, and just remove all of that with a big eraser and watch them go create some of the best things that, that we get to experience. So Thank you. I encourage people to go and find what you're creating and follow along. And
awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.